Hey now, how is everybody doing? Welcome to Red Alert Diaries with Tanya E. Hood. I am Tanya E. Hood, a wife, a mother, and an entrepreneur. As an entrepreneur, it simply means I've worn a lot of different hats in my life that have helped me develop a full range of strategies and actionable steps that I've used to help my clients make a strategic impact, both personally and professionally, to have better than what life has been giving them. Red Alert Diaries is based on the life lessons from my premier book, Red Alert. Is He the One? The pocket guide to finding the love of your life. And if you read my book, you already know that I got married at 21, and after 11 years of marriage, I found myself going through a divorce, having to raise my two sons alone. To reset my life and survive my divorce, I took the time I needed to get to know me better, which opened me up to new love again. So now I'm in a new marriage to the love of my life and my best friend, which just proves there is life after divorce. On this podcast, we have real talk about marriage, money, legacy, all the things that we need to have our lives impacted. This is where that conversation takes place, and I want you to join me on the journey. Call 240-532-2227. That's 240-532-2227. Today, we have a special guest joining us. Hi, Nicole. Welcome. So, everyone, I have got to introduce you to this amazing woman, Miss Nicole Henderson, also known as Unstoppable Nicole. She is also a co-author on our #1 Amazon bestseller in 8 categories and internationally. Our book is titled Your Voice Matters. This book was a collaboration of love and an expression of healing to let the voices of those that have been marginalized be heard. You see, in the United States, the death of George Floyd exposed the trauma that has been felt by so many Black people for years in this country. And I am so grateful for people like Nicole that have joined us to let it be known that this was not an isolated incident. Nicole is also a native of New York City, a single mom of 3, an Army veteran, a registered nurse, an owner of 3 businesses, and a certified master life coach. Whether from the inner city or the boardroom, Nicole has assisted countless women in implementing actionable strategies that help them recognize their self-worth, build confidence and self-esteem, create stronger bonds with their children, and so much more. Nicole, thank you so much for being here, knowing your heart to serve. Can you give us a little more insight about what you shared in Your Voice Matters? Just a snippet so that they get a taste of what you shared.
Thank you so much, Tanya, and thank you for having me. And in Your Voice Matters, the important thing that I shared was telling each one of my children things that they're going to face in life and how it's not fair, but they have to trust God to get through it, to know that it's coming no matter what it is, but they need to get through it.
So what was important to you about sharing this story more so than that? Because that is a phenomenal view.
It was important to me because we all grow up in different environments, and some environments are not as others, and other people don't get to know what you come up against in life. And we as a society, we judge quickly. And we think it's fair across the board for everyone, and it's not. So I wanted to prepare my children to know, no, it's not fair across the board, but you can succeed. No one can put you in a box. But listen, these are the things you're going to see. But you know what? With the word of God in you as a foundation, this is how you're going to get through it.
I love that you shared that. That leads me to asking this question because it sounds like this is inspiring to you. So what really inspires you?
What really inspires me being a single mother of 3 children, right? And coming from the projects of New York City, I never gave excuses in life not to succeed to the next level. When I grew up in an era of the crack era and all you see is violence and crime. It wasn't even safe for me to be outside like a normal child should be. And with that, I wanted better for my children, right? Because that's what we're supposed to do. We're always supposed to want better for our children. And when I left that environment, I was able to see like, wow, life is not the same everywhere. So how can I adapt to each environment that I'm in? How can I learn from each environment that I'm in? And now, how can I teach it to someone else? So what inspires me are my children being successful and in their own lanes. Like I don't make them be a particular thing. They have different personalities, but I instill in them like you're never going to give up. You're always going to do better because you know better, because you have been taught.
Exactly. And having been a single mother at a phase in my life as well, helping people to push through that adversity and obstacles, you have some strategies that you typically share. Can you give us an insight about what those are so that our audience that are in the same position, because that's a hard place to be, that they can get something they can take away today?
Yes. So the first thing you have to do is think about your strength, right? If you're not okay, then you can't be okay for anyone else. And a lot of people say, oh, but that's being selfish. And I know as women, we are nurturers. We automatically will give everything we have. But what we need to do is give some of that back to us. We have to keep some of that. And so one strategy I would tell women to do is journal down a whole week straight of everything you do, from the time you wake up to the time you go to sleep. And as you journal through, at the end of the week, look back and read the journal all the way through. And then when you look at it, you see how much you pour out than what's coming in. And then from that, you want to go ahead and you want to adjust little things day by day. I'm not telling you it works overnight, because it doesn't. And it usually takes 21 days to develop a habit. So you want to go and you want to take the things that you know you can take from off that list and pour it back into your cup. And in that, find time for yourself. In that, find how the other children can help you. The older ones can help you with the younger ones. You will be amazed what a 5-year-old can do.
A 3-year-old also,
A
because my
3-year-old,
3-year-old had to learn how to pick up his, you were big enough to put all them toys down. You're going to need to be big enough to pick them up. But I'm glad that you shared that, because here's the thing. Red Alert Diaries is based off of the journals that I had during that time. Now, granted, I didn't use the strategy that you just shared by journaling every day. I couldn't find the time to do that. But taking a moment to journal it down gave me a space to see there's a whole lot that we do. We are on automatic as mothers, because it's just you. You are mommy, you are daddy, you are everything. You have to be the cook, you got to be the clean, everything. So you don't pay enough attention to how much we're pouring out. And I'm so glad you shared about pouring back into your cup. You can't give what you don't have. And that's why some of us end up being a little bit snappy.
Yes.
Because we have nothing else to give.
Yes.
Thank you so much for sharing that. And here's another part that I know about you. Let me pause, because I have to commend you for your strength. You have gone through the gamut as a single mother and trying to figure out how to help others. You have created so many different tools and so many different pieces to help others get the strength that they needed, because you've walked it. Can you share with us one other something? Because this was a great tool, but for individuals that are like, I'm not sure about that journaling thing, because a lot of people don't, or not consistent like I was. I just wasn't. What can you give them along the way?
So another aspect to that, voice note. So you can't take the time to write it down and to see it, but you can voice note it. And the reason why this strategy is so important is because you have to get the mindset. And sometimes when you don't see it for yourself, it's gonna affect you, and you're gonna want to move on to step B, but you never did step A. So even if they cannot write it down, which I found myself, not being as consistent sometimes, in the beginning, we're all gun ho and we're like, yeah. But then other times it's like, I don't have time to do that. So what I do is I got my voice note, and I just put a voice note down, and I say exactly what I'm doing. And then I'll go back and I'll listen to it. And when you see how long the voice notes are and how many you have of them, you're like, oh, this is why I'm exhausted. This is why I feel overwhelmed, because the whole thing is for you to have balance, and you don't want to feel overwhelmed, but you have to identify it first.
And we don't do well identifying things like that. So that is a great tool. And so for those of you, you can find free apps that you can download to your phone that can be a support system to you. There's something else that you shared I want to just give a little more oomph to, because you can often hear it said it takes 21 days to create a habit. Not really. It takes 21 days to get an idea that this is a habit I should have. It really takes 90 days for that habit to be sealed, which is one of the reasons why I often share with my clients, you have to put measures in place. Give yourself the time. Like you said, doing that one thing, you got to get out of the bad habit that you have, first of all, to create the new habit. By then, your 21 days are shot, and you haven't even done what you needed. So for those of you that are looking to create the new strategies that you need, pick one and do it for 90 days. That way it becomes automatic. Now it's a new habit. And so thank you so much for sharing that strategy, Nicole. Because you have done this so much with individuals, you have created a nonprofit to help support single mothers through the process. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yes, the nonprofit is called Break Up to Build Up Incorporated. And if anyone's interested, they can go to the website at breakuptobuildup.org. And on there, the website just shares our mission and our vision and our purpose. And what our mission and purpose is to help single mothers with their day-to-day obstacles, and also turn around and teach their children so that they both can be successful. The organization offers help with groceries, with education, with utilities, and we know that our resources are limited. So we have donors that will come in and donate, and then we use the funds as appropriate. But we know how hard it is, like being a single mother and sometimes not having enough money for groceries, or not having enough money for gas, or not having enough money for clothing. Like, these are all needs that we have. And it's like, no one can help us, because especially when you're a working single mom. And that's the problem I fell into, because I made too much money to qualify for anything, but I didn't make enough to cover all of my bills. And that's such a frustrating part. It's like, I want to get an education. I want to be home with my children. And yet I gotta really sit down here with all of these bills and see what I can pinch and pay a little of this and pay a little of that. And then that creates financial bad habits, but you have to do what you have to do. So Break Up to Build Up is not only giving moms these tools of that, we're getting donors to donate, to say, hey, these are the things we know that they need.
That is awesome. I really wish that your nonprofit was around, because I have done that. It irritated me because they're calculating gross. I don't see gross. Everything I bring home is net. And I was sharing in another session, there's usually more month than there is money. But what you said was a key component. One of the things that I often share with my clients is to create a financial plan. A budget is a simple financial plan, and it is needed so that you can get an idea of where you have to do that pinching and that pulling. But even still, with all of that, it is difficult. There's one other thing, and I know that this is something that you can share and have insight on because you are also a child of the King. My changing point for that eliminate the extra month that kept showing up around the 20th of the month, there's extras, and it's like, okay, I should have had enough money to cover this entire month, but you don't. The account is down to $5 because that's where I was. You needed $5 to keep that thing open. So you couldn't
Yeah,
do
that's
anything else. But I started doing this one financial principle. And it's a thing that people don't often think about: tithing. It seems like you're giving money out of the coffer that you already don't have. But here's something that I learned: when you give back to the creator of the universe a portion of what he's given to you, because everything that we have comes from God anyway. And if we just say thank you with the 10%, that's all the tithe is. If you got 10 apples, give God one. It looks hard and it is difficult, and it's going to require faith to do it, even if it's $20. So that's where I was. I couldn't see sparing the $20, but I've also thought that that would be a little negligible number. But there was some days I was like, I really need this $20 because I have nothing, like nothing to feed my kids. But the day that God really let me know to trust him in the small parts, because as a single mother, we still need someone else to support us. And that day, I did not spend the $20, and I trusted God with it. I fed my children the last of the frozen over chicken nuggets in the freezer, and I went to bed hungry. I had never in my life at that point gone hungry. But God sent someone, an angel like you are, to provide a resource. So, Nicole, thank you for being that resource for someone else, because that is also how God uses others to support you. But you got to walk through that principle so that you can get the resource from the source. So I just had to throw that in there because that was my traumatic experience. But you triggered that thought in my head because somebody came and gave me groceries enough to get me through the next month.
Yes. Yes, I'm telling you, he is faithful. And I do the same thing. And what I started doing first is as soon as I got paid, I would gift my 10% right there. Because when I waited on the back end, it made it very hard. When I did it on the front end, it's like, okay, now this is all I have to work with. So that helped me a lot because I knew, I'm like, I have to gift. It's in his word, and I'm gonna gift because he and that same way how you said somebody came, I came home and I have a best friend, and I was having a real tough time and being really private and stuff like that. And my best friend, she used to live with me, so she knows what we eat because her and her children used to stay with me. And just one day I was out, and when I came home, I had groceries in the middle of my floor, just filled up in the kitchen, like groceries all over of everything me and my children ate. And I did not have any
That
groceries.
is the blessing, because that's what a friend of mine did for
I
me.
cried and I
Girl,
cried because I'm
who
like,
you
you
telling?
are faithful. You are faithful.
Indeed. But here's something I want to share for those of you that are like off the top. Uncle Sam gets his money before you ever see it. That's the reason I always got the net. You don't get gross because he takes, Uncle Sam don't trust us. But God is trusting us to give in the front part. But when we do, that is amazing. Tell me this: you have written 2 other books, not a collaboration, y'all. She is an author of her own items. Nicole, share with us some elements about that.
Absolutely. So my first book that I wrote is autobiography. And it was so funny because I didn't want to write the book. And I had a mentor that was like, hey, you need to write a book. And I was like, no, I want to get in the rooms. I want to talk to people. And he was like, you need to write a book, because if you don't write a book, then you're being selfish. And I was like, I'm the most unselfish person I know. Like, do you know what I'm going through right now? And he said, you can write a book that can literally save someone else's life. He said, and also your book can get places that you may never step foot into. And when he said that, I said, you know what? I got to write a book. So my first book is called Take It Back, Your Strength, Your Mindset, Your Finances. And it just grows. It talks about me growing up in the city, in the projects of New York City, and then going into the military. It also talks about being in toxic relationships, how to get out of toxic relationships, and then just showing how to help others in it. And the second book is a co-parenting book that I wrote, and it's called Break Up to Build Up, Learning to Build Resilience from the Pieces. And that gives parents, and because even dads can read it, it gives parents different eyes, different vantage points on seeing what your children see and what the people around you are going to say, are going to do, but what more aligned your actions should be. And it's all founded in the Word of God, so that they can have that as a resource. And they also can journal in the book. So that one is also, and both of these books are on Amazon. And then I have a latest one that I co-authored with my daughter. And she, at 5 years old, wanted to start her own business, and she wanted to help other children to be happy and confident. So she developed a coloring book with affirmations on them. And so there's 48 plus affirmations on there. And that one also hit #1 international. So all of the books hit #1 international best-selling authors. So I am just thankful that my children are starting young and they're looking up and they're seeing mommy do things and then wanting to be a help in the way they can be a help. So
that is so awesome. Congratulations on that. And 5, that is so good. And that goes back to what you were sharing earlier, because you took the time to pour into yourself, give yourself the opportunity to learn strategies and actionable steps. You have been able to position the next generation to do better, be better, and grow into another element. Oh, I'm so all about that. Here's something else that you do. You have a special gift to give away to my audience. Can you tell us more about that?
yes, so I have a gift. If you go to my website at unstoppablenicole.com and you put in there Tanya E Hood, I will know that's the special code, and you will get a 15-minute consultation with me, and we will work out a strategy for you.
Thank you so much for that, Nicole. So you all have just heard, you need to come and get that information. Unstoppablenicole.com. I'm going to put that information at the bottom of the screen so that you all can see that and go there. Nicole, thank you. I appreciate this time and the insight that you shared. Is there one last thing you would like to share with the audience?
I do. Invest in yourself. Get a coach. And I'm not just saying that because I am a certified master life coach, but I have a coach because we don't know it all. And when you have someone else that specializes in that thing, they can drive you and help you to reach all your goals for the purpose that you have been put here. Because we've all been put here for a specific reason. So get a coach, invest in yourself so that you can just live the life that you are purposed to live. You want financial freedom. You want time freedom. Those are the things that I know that I want. But at the same time, we were put here to help each other. Everything wasn't for self. But we need the tools and we need the strategies. So whatever kind of coach you need, find that coach and invest in yourself.
I'm so glad that you shared that, because I often let people know one of my basic beliefs is that the only reason we exist on this planet is to help one another. Thank you so much for that, Nicole. So everyone, you have just heard Nicole share that information with us. I want you to take the time now to go to her website and let her pour into you the things that God has put inside of her. Get her books and also the other services that she offers to those individuals. And if you're on Clubhouse, join me at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in the Red Alert Diaries room, where we can continue this conversation or we can start a new one. In the meantime, this is Tanya E. Hood, walking in my purpose, and I want you to do the same.